Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's Trading European Open Live here at the Live Trade Room. Now today is Wednesday the 5th of September. So what we look to do during this session is to become a master of price action and have an understanding for some high probability trading opportunities. And we have a methodology that we use where we can identify these opportunities. So going through a bit of a process in terms of which markets we should focus on is obviously can be a very difficult thing, especially if you're looking for the high probability trading opportunities. So we go through that process, then we need to apply a consistent and disciplined approach to trade execution. So that's really at what point do we enter, how do we manage those trades, and do we mitigate risk on those trades, which all builds into the whole sort of management of a trade, a skill set that is, your exit is just as important as your ability to enter these markets, all with one reason, and that is to book in consistent returns. So without further ado then, let's get straight in and we shall start with our risk warning. Please do familiarize yourselves with the risk warning currently up on screen. Okay, so without further ado then, let's begin with a quick review of potential market moving news. So we want to understand the news flow for the session, and I'm going to just bring it across here now for you. So we look at Forex Factory to give us some, to give us all our news flow for the trading day. So this is Wednesday, the 5th of September. In the early hours, we had a GDP figure and it was expected to be 0.7. So we've had a 2 basis point increase on the 0.7. Now it's obviously above expectation. So that's obviously a good news story. And we'll have a look at the Aussie dollar now very shortly, and you can see effectively what has happened. Sorry, I just put a little note. Into the chat box. So yeah, just put a little note in there into the chat box. So obviously you use that function if you do have any questions or you do have any comments to make. Okay, so we're looking ahead now. So we're looking to, we have a services PMI figure. So if services are expanding, obviously that's a good news story, and we are in an expansion, in a phase of expansion. So the expected figure is 53.9, and again, if we get a strong variation either above or below that services PMI figure, it's likely to impact the British pound accordingly. Good morning, Matt. I hope you're keeping well. So we're going to come back to this PMI figure at 9:30, and then as we look into the afternoon, we have a trade balance figure and labour productivity figures affecting the Canadian dollar, and also the rate statement and the overnight rate, which is expected to remain at 1.5. So let's see if that's the case. So really for the day and for the afternoon, we're not really going to be trading the Canadian dollar. It's been sort of weakening, but has it been weakening prior to this news event or not? We shall certainly wait and see on that one. So really the only sort of news event that we need to be aware of for the trading session is the 9:30 services PMI number. So so let's take that information then across to the trading charts. Yesterday's trading day. Choppy is not the right word. Sort of volatile. We had a volatile trading day yesterday, and we could feel the volatility when it was going in our favour, and we certainly felt it when it was going against some of the trades that we were in. So yesterday was one of those days. We had strong rejections. We're looking for this market to continue lower. As you can see, strong rejections in the latter part of the trading day. and we've seen that across a number of different markets. And there is a sentiment and a feel that there is the potential for dollar continuation. So we're likely to see the dollar strengthen, but it does have to break sort of quite important highs and lows accordingly. So that's quite a strong rejection. The Aussie dollar seemed to have bounced higher and is looking like it's going to be rolling over to the downside. So although we would concur, it's certainly some of these markets have the potential to give us opportunities to the downside. We're a little bit, based on yesterday's price action, we're a little bit more conservative, let's say, today, and probably rightly so. We're feeling ourselves just back into these markets, doing the analysis, conducting analysis where we can look for these high probability opportunities and almost be a little bit more patient perhaps with some of these currency markets. Now another market, I mean, look at this price action from on a daily time frame from yesterday. A strong break below the 128.55, where you'd expect continuation in a price chart like this, and we got a complete reversal off that level. Now there's we've broken higher, and there is a decent amount of yen strength, but yen sentiment, positive yen sentiment to the downside as far as the euro yen and the pound yen are concerned. So you know, if these markets do sort of roll over properly, then we might look to get into them, but just now we're just going to play it out and see what happens. Now, a couple of markets we can keep a good strong eye on would be the gold market below the 1189.64. For those of you that get our daily trade watch, we discuss the potential for the gold market to squeeze lower, but also the oil markets. And I want to show you the crude oil. Like from a price action perspective, this doesn't look like a great opportunity, but if I compare it and contrast it to the UK oil, which is the Brent oil, it's in, technically speaking, it's in a very, very different position, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is just get up the our pen so you can see this in here. We have almost the potential for a triple top, and on each occasion we get a strong move eventually to the downside. So what we've suggested is keep an eye and see if this market breaks below the 17.15 level. If that's the case, we'll be looking to sell this market to the downside. So we shall keep a close eye on that one. So that's really going to be one of our trade ideas for the session. So we're going to come back to this market very shortly. Just looking at the US equities, these markets are coming off as well. All three of them are very close to breaking yesterday's lows. So there's a lot of concern for emerging markets and dollar strength and the impact that that's going to have. So it's interesting to see how these plays out. The FTSE has actually gapped lower, which again is quite interesting. There's a little bit of a weekly low in here at 74.17 level. So, and we clearly have the potential for this market to squeeze lower, which is the Euro Stoxx 50. So we'll keep a close eye on this and see if it gives us clear-cut opportunities. And it will be a continuation of yesterday's price action with a little bit of a bounce, and see if we get that continuation lower. So we've really got a couple of... we'll have a look at the gold market as well and see if this market rolls over to the downside. And so we'll keep a close eye on the euro dollar and the pound dollar. So we're still 20 odd pips away from this breakout to the downside. I mean, the only thing that's sort of annoying about it is we've been looking for opportunities to sell these markets. Same with the euro yen. So perhaps our analysis is kind of correct in terms of the direction in which we wanted to trade these markets. We benefited from the full blunt of the markets yesterday with the really strong sort of pullback on some of these markets. So we'll keep a good eye. We're going to have a look at. We'll continue to look at the euro dollar. So we'll have a look at this chart in here. What I'm going to do is just put the pound chart just over the top of it, but we'll keep a close eye on the euro dollar just in case we want to have a look at the pound chart as well. So the rest of the markets, we look at the gold, bottom left. So this is our trade plan for the session, and we'll have a look at the UK oil market. See if we get a break lower. And also let's keep a close eye on the Euro stocks and see if we start getting a flush lower in the Euro stock 50. So we've backed off a lot of the equities over the summer holidays. Like the US equities have been really explosive to the upside, not so much with the European and the FTSE. So we do obviously have to bear that in mind. So I've put the gold market and the euro dollar market just on the left hand side on a daily time frame, just so that we can see really the high probability side of this market would be selling below the 1528. Now this is just pure from consistency perspective, because there's a couple of levels of support which could again blow this market out like we saw yesterday in the latter part of the trading day. When we look at the gold market now, we've obviously got getting a little bit of a bounce off the 1189. So if we get a rollover of that, it would add to the momentum to the downside. So likely to be a strong trade there. So the two markets we're going to focus on, let's say more on an immediate fashion, would be the UK oil market and the Euro Stoxx 50. So a bit nervous about the Euro Stoxx 50, just because it's prone to gapping. We should probably just take a note of these outright lows. So what would be our plan effectively for the Euro Stoxx? Well, we have quite the potential for a bit of a... We're interested here in the gap. Does this market look to fill that gap before we get the proper move lower? So there is straight away a bit of a question mark over this trade. So what would be probably more of a more solid trade plan for this market would be to, let me have a quick look. We do want to take this low in, so there's a little bit of a band around this level. So we might just need to be a little bit patient with this one, but what we'd like to see is the attempt for it to move lower, and then if the market sort of decides to pull back, to maybe look to get into it from a slightly higher price with a low in mind. So we might just have to be a little bit more patient with this one. So effectively we're looking to sell this market below the 33.36 and expect continuation in this market to the downside. So we'll have a look at this market in a minute. So there's a bit of work for this market to do first. So okay, let's look at the UK oil market. So what we're unwinding effectively is a really long, strong move to the upside. So it's worth considering this low in here, the 76.92, and again, what we would like to do is an opportunity to sell 76.92, which is a little bit below these current prices. So it may be a case of waiting for this opportunity to unfold. And just because you don't want to sell a market with significant levels of support just beneath it. So let's look at these two markets then on a 15-minute time frame. So we do have a lower level in here. So we can keep an eye on this market on the screen, but really what we're looking at in this market is a break below actually the lower level, the 33.36 level to the downside. May consider a breakout trade if we get the right conditions. We'd prefer a pullback trade on it if we possibly could. Same situation, 76.92 is the level that we'd be looking at from a probability perspective. To see continuation lower, it just needs to clear this level, and we need to get some sellers really entering this market and seeing if prices can drive lower. So those are the trade ideas. We're looking at this market, and there's a bit of strength coming into it. Let's have a quick look. Sorry, a bit of dollar strength, should I say, coming into this market. This is the level for the gold, which is the 1189. So we're not a million miles away from moves in these markets. So let's go into the euro dollar and just see. You see, we're effectively in a long-term sideways moving pattern. So that's why the 1528 is actually quite an important level in this market. If we look at the euro pound, we've seen a little bit of European strength, but now that we're in the European Open, there seems to be a little bit more pound strength, just mildly entering these markets. And the pound dollar, again, similar situation really to the euro dollar. Let's see what this looks like on a smaller term time frame. So we're just getting continuation lower. There is a bit of positive sentiment behind the US dollar, so not really overly surprised to see this kind of move. What we would get with these markets is they're extending lower now, as you can see. So this is an interesting move here in the Aussie dollar. So let's go down into the Aussie dollar as well. So Really getting a strong move. So really got a strong break of the 71.72. A really strong flush down. So looking at a couple of pullback trades. So the 15.28 is kind of the level that we'd need to focus on for the euro dollar, but the strong breakout below now in the Aussie dollar is quite interesting. So our euro stocks is dropping lower. So we're really getting that break to the downside. So it just depends. We're getting the break on the daily time frame as well. So we've had a couple of rejections of that level. We're currently below. Let me be a little bit more accurate with that. So the low of this market is the 33.36. Let's see if we can get a pullback trade on the Aussie dollar. It's kind of a mild pullback trade really, but that's effectively what this is. What might be better off doing is getting in below the 28.20 level and using this level as a stop loss. So we've got a couple of options. We could get in at this level, which is the pullback trade, or we could get in below the 28.19, which is the breakout trade, and just marginally prefer the breakout trade, we think. So let's see what happens to this market just at this lower level and see if we get So the Euro stocks could be our first trade for the morning. So a couple of interesting trade opportunities. So certainly based on yesterday's price action, we weren't necessarily expecting the dollar to strengthen in this manner. So we got dollar strength followed by significant kind of dollar weakness really. But I must admit, not across the board, just across many markets, dollar related markets, quite a few of the big ones. So there was a mediocre picture for the US dollar, but obviously today now the dollar weakened initially and then has really sort of strengthened quite considerably. So it is worth looking at. So we have this level in here, which is the 71.57. We prefer the markets actually to bounce back to the 71.72 level or somewhere in and around here. That would be even this low in here, the 68 level. If the market could bounce back to that, that would be a better spot to get into this market from. So we'll just keep watching for now. So I'm interested in selling the Euro stocks and just jumping on the bandwagon. We're seeing a bit of selling creep in across the board now with in the equity space. So we are coming into earnings season. There'll be a lot of focus on the performance of those companies within those equities. But a little bit of negative sentiment creeping in, so we'll see if we can capitalize on that as well. So a couple of little sort of minor changes really. We were going to be a little bit more passive with the US dollar this morning, but we've got a clear-cut opportunity in the Aussie dollar from a high probability perspective. Let me show you this on a daily time frame. So this is the level that's quite important. It's yesterday's low. We're getting a pullback to that level. We've had a rejection of the highs, and we just expect this market to continue lower. So let's see if we actually get that. So we're getting a pullback to this level, which might give us an opportunity to get in on a pullback. The euro dollar, unfortunately, we still need this market to break to 15.28. So we're a little bit away from that level and getting a really strong pullback in the British pound. So we are pulling back off the low. Again, the 28.28 is a really important level. It's a weekly low, and it provided a lot of resistance yesterday on an intraday basis, and it very well may do so yet again. I suppose the level that we should probably focus on a little bit more is the 28.12. Then what that does is it converts this trade to a decent opportunity to actually a high probability opportunity to see if we get a nice strong flush lower. So if you trade more clear-cut opportunities, you're more likely to get explosive moves in those markets. More traders are watching those levels, and because it's a daily time frame, you have a lot of traders that trade bigger time frames, getting in all the time. 4-hour traders. Your 1-hour traders will really be aware of these weekly levels, and if you get a clear-cut break of those levels, then it's probably one of the better ways to stack the odds in your favor. Of course, what is needed is a little bit of patience, of course. So we're gonna aim for that 15.828 with the euro dollar and the 28.12 in the pound dollar. So what we can do is we can look at the Aussie dollar. We're currently below the weekly low, the corresponding weekly low. We're currently below that level. It's not moving lower with any huge kind of momentum. There was obviously a bit of buying pressure came in the early part of the trading session, and now we're getting the bit of a rollover trade. So it could be worth capitalizing on a bit of Aussie strength. If the market turns around anywhere around the 71.50 level, it could give us a good opportunity. And we are seeing support to a certain degree with the euro and the pound as well. So still looking at the euro stocks, it's just hanging around this low. Maybe before we get the actual move further lower to the downside. The oil market is just hanging around this upper level here, the 77.15. We do want it to break the 76.92. So we can take these off. So there's a bit of a floor made at this price level. So we want to see this market break the 33.34. This is the daily level. Oh, this is the more recent low on a daily time frame. So we've kind of got these levels to break, and if we break those levels, we could probably have a fairly tight stop loss. Not give this market loads of room, just enough room to so this is the I suppose the hello Chris. On our other live trade room, for our members through the live trade room, yeah, we've got our own sort of platform effectively for our members. So they effectively log into their membership area, and they click on a button, and it takes them straight through to the broadcast. So sort of very easy, very straightforward. So what we're doing at the moment is we're running the first part of the European. I'm just looking at these markets here. The first part of the European Open through our YouTube channel, and also the 1 p.m. Session for the US. So it's we're just running these sessions through these channels for now. But no, we have our own platform effectively for our members. So really the first hour of each session we are doing through our YouTube channel, and the rest, even though I've been late the last couple of days. So look, we can get into this market now. So let's oops. Let's have a look at this on a slightly bigger time frame. Okay. Let me have a quick look. Euro stocks. So we're in at the 33. Okay, let me see what the issue is here. Okay, minimum stop difference. So we're looking for this market to sell off. And it's not letting me place that for whatever reason. So we got in at the minimum trade size. $33.50, $55. Invalid prices. I'm not too sure why. We're selling this market, placing a stop loss at the 33.55, which is up here, and we're getting that invalid prices. I don't quite understand. Okay, I'm just going to find out and see what the problem is with that one. We've never had an issue before with the Euro stocks. Okay, that's a bit of a puzzling one. So, sorry, I'm just trying one more thing here to see if I can... Okay. Very strange. Very, very strange. I was able to put the stop loss in place through my mobile phone, but I wasn't able to do it through the platform, which is very, very odd. Very odd. Of course, we're going to look into that and see what the issues are with that. So we do have our stop loss in place, the 33.55. So it's worth being aware of. So really, we expect this market to continue lower. We have protected our capital. We've got a effectively a 21 point stop loss in this market, which is fine, or nearly 22 points. So so we're okay with the exposure. The exposure is fine. What we do have is all of these levels of resistance potentially supporting our trade to the downside, and let's see if we capitalize on what is effectively a market which has the potential to squeeze lower, but we're looking to break beneath these lows here, which could structurally be actually quite important. Really not too sure why I couldn't place that stop loss through the platform, but we'll find out, and if any of you are having any issues with that trade, please do let us know. Morning, Connor. How's it going on your end? Ready for another interesting day in these markets? Yesterday was, well, the afternoon was pretty choppy stuff. Going to try and get an answer to that particular issue as we're currently online. I just wonder if I move this stop loss now, does it? No, it doesn't allow me to. I'll have to edit it through my phone by the looks of it. So the placement of the stop loss through my phone seems to work fine. Sorry, let me just take this platform just off screen for a second. Okay, sorry, just bear with me a second, just trying to sort something out. I think there is an issue with our platform not being logged in correctly, so we're getting a lot of the accessibility, but not all of it when it comes to trade execution. So Okay, we're getting the flush lower in the Euro stocks. Sorry guys, I appreciate we are on a live broadcast, so most unusually. I'm just trying to sort out this trading platform. I can see the prices are still moving lower, and we definitely have an issue with the platform that we're using. So I'm going to. I just need to log in again into the. Once we're able to log in effectively again, we can go live. So we have here the services PMI, put a bit of information up there. So I'm just going to need just a minute or so to hopefully get this sorted out. Okay, so just bear with me now, just a couple more minutes. Oops. Okay, it looks like we're back. Okay, so that's good. So need to look in to see what those issues were. Not too sure what the problem was, and but we'll try and troubleshoot that actually. Okay, so we're in this trade to the downside. We're currently beneath this level. We're in a small bit of profit. We'd have to await, as always, the pullback, which we're very likely to get. But we have our stop loss above all these levels of support. So there's the expectation that we'll get a nice continued move to the downside. The reason why we're trading it again is just this sort of technical setup. Plus, if we look across the other US equities, they're all looking like they're potentially interested in selling off. So we've just got the first move really in the Euro stocks. It looks like the FTSE could be next to break sort of their daily sort of low position. We're quite close to them in the US equities. Euro stocks is the one that's given us the opportunity now. We might sort of add the FTSE to it and just see this continuing sort of trading to the downside, especially if there's this sort of negative sentiment behind the stock markets at the moment. The UK oil market is just bouncing off this level here, so we want to see it clear the 76, 92 level to the downside, so that would give us a good opportunity. Regarding the gold market, there's a bit of weakness. You'd prefer to be selling than looking for opportunities to buy that one. We're not quite getting the follow through in the US oil, even though we'd expect it to squeeze lower at some point. And then, sorry, just going back to the dollar markets, looking at daily time frames, not an awful lot have happened. It's got the potential for a bit of dollar strength. We do have some major news out in a couple of hours, in a few hours, impacting the Canadian dollar, so we're going to back off this market. This could be a bit of Canadian dollar weakness in the build up to that news event, so we'll just exercise a bit of caution and just be patient. So we're currently seeing a structural failure, or on the verge of seeing a structural failure. If we break above the 71.16 level, so if we break below the 71.54, then we're happy to get into that. But it's looking like it's reversing, which might mean very shortly we'll back off from it. FTSE is a market that is worth looking at. And that's on a daily time frame. So let's get our Euro stock trade just up there. So let's see if we get some continuation to the downside. And just on the top right hand corner, we're going to get back the UK oil market. Except we're getting a little bit of a bounce off this level, so we just got to be really patient with that one. we quite like the idea of see continuation now to the downside. So let's see if we get a nice move lower. The lows in the Aussie dollar are right down here at the 71.44. So really a market with a number of potential opportunities today. Now it's just a case of whether we get to see the follow through in some of these markets or not, whatever the case may be. Let's see if we get continuation in this market to the downside. Nice move lower, a little bit of a pullback. That's okay. There's lots of resistance, preventing because these equity markets are a little bit more expensive to trade. Most foreign exchange trades, probably what we're risking is about $15 per trade. What we often risk when we're trading more expensive markets like the commodity markets and the global indices is probably around 2% of our capital. So we're looking at the $25 to $30 trades normally. On other occasions we can take slightly larger trade size depending on the setup, but just as a norm, we'd be looking to expose probably $25 to $30 in a global equity index trade. So as you can see, just looking at this area in here for the Aussie dollar, this represents a structural failure. Now we haven't quite achieved that yet, but so we're getting the beginning of potentially a little bit of a reversal if we do close above that level. So that all that does is just allow us to just put on the brakes, not necessarily go jumping into it, but just exercise a little bit of caution again and try and wait for that proper opportunity to arrive. Right guys, I am just conscious of the time again. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the live trade room now for our members there in the live trade room. We'll be switching over there now in the next minute or so. So for those of you, any of you joining us online, if you would like to join us at the live trade room, you can do so for just $9.99 per calendar month, and that allows you to access over 76 live trade rooms per month. So we have day trading rooms. We also have our Capital Growth live trade room every evening at 9 p.m. for 30 minutes. That's for those of you that are not able to join us live during the day. We appreciate many of you are very, very busy. That's absolutely fair enough. But if you do want to gain access, please do have a look at the information below and do feel free to join us. So we're going to switch across now to the live trade room. Fantastic, Connor. I got in there before you. I'm going to try and be aware of it. So the only trade we've actively been able to get into really at this point is the Eurostoxx 50. We've had the flush lower. We're getting a little bit of a pullback on that, so we need the next leg to squeeze lower for the Eurostoxx. The UK gold could still be on. We're not too far away from potentially getting in below the 76.92. If we see that as a price, then we'd be looking to get involved in that. Looking at the euro dollar and the pound dollar is looking a bit better, isn't it? So we might switch across now and take a look at that trade, and also the the potential to sell the Aussie dollar is still intact. So if we get a break below the 71.54, we've actually got a nice little level in here to place a really small stop loss and see if we get a nice move lower or not. So couple of trades in the pipeline. We shall look to see if we can capitalize on those now for the rest of the trading session. So if you do want to join us, please do. You get instant access through the live trade room. So do have a look at our website, and hopefully you will be able to benefit from trading these markets. So on that note, guys, thank you very much as always for joining us. Do take care. I can see these markets moving now, so I'm going to be quick. I'm going to jump across straight to the live trade room now, and we'll see you soon. From everyone here, bye for now. Sorry, do feel free to like and share this particular recording, even though we had a couple of issues there for a few minutes throughout. But you can also connect with us through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The details are there up on screen. So from everyone here, take care. We're switching over to live trade room now, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.